Hallo und herzlich willkommen zu einem neuen Video hier bei uns auf dem Tabletop Kanal. Heute wieder zu einem Interview. Heute interviewen wir den Team-Captain vom Team Norway. Wir werden das auf Englisch machen und danach werden wir das Stückchen auf Deutsch übersetzen oder auch den Untertitel anmachen. Ich hoffe, das passt soweit für euch. Dann starten wir auch direkt rein. Wir haben nur eine begrenzte Zeit. Ich werde das nochmal ergänzen mit einem kleinen Video und dann gehen wir direkt rein.
So, here we go. The team captain of Norway is Patrick Woods. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about you. How long do you play Warhammer, and how long do you play tournaments in Warhammer? And yes, so we can start.
Yeah, absolutely. So like many other people, I played a little bit when I was young teenager. But unfortunately, in the area where I live, there were not many people who wanted to play with kids. So I stopped playing. And then I discovered it again when I was living in Japan in 2018, beginning of 8th edition. I played there with a lot of English and American and French players who lived in Japan, and then moved back to Norway 3 years ago. I've been playing tournaments ever since I started playing again in 2018, and I became the captain of Team Norway for the first WTC after COVID, so 2022.
Okay, thank you. Also er sagt, er hat halt als Jugendlicher Warhammer gespielt und die erwachsenen Leute hatten dann aber nicht so viel Bock, in Anführungsstrichen mit Kids zu spielen. Und dann hat er es wieder aufgegeben. Dann hat er eine Zeit in Japan gelebt und hat da auf internationaler Ebene viel Warhammer gespielt und seit Anfang der 8. Edition ist dann wieder nach Norwegen gegangen, hat dann auch Turniere gespielt und genau, ist dann seit 2022 Team-Captain von Team Norway geworden. So, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about the Warhammer community in Norway. Norway is a very huge country, so I think about it will be played in the bigger cities, and outside the cities it will be hard to find people to play outside TTS, I think.
Yeah, so there's been a community for 40k in Norway for a very long time. But most of the tournaments, there were 2 or 3 or 4 tournaments per year, and the biggest ones were usually around 40 people.
Okay.
But then COVID happened, and I think Warhammer is one of the only things in the world that COVID was good for, because after COVID we got so many more players. Our tournaments are now, we have twice as many tournaments per year. They're 80 people tournaments. They sell out in 1 or 2 days. And we have 100 plus person tournaments as well now. So it grew a lot in the last 3 years. And like you said, it's bigger in the big cities, of course. Most of the biggest part of our community is in the capital city, in Oslo, where there is a club of 300 members. With their own clubhouse, which is open 24 hours a day. With, I think they have 40 or 50 tables in the club. So, it's huge, and it's just for this club. It's not a shared space. It's not a shop. Oslo is the main area of our community, and it keeps growing. We decided to host an extra tournament to get some practice for referees, for judges, in October. And when we put that up, it'll be 80 people, and I think it will sell out in a day. So our community has definitely become a lot bigger in the last 3 years.
Okay, er sagt halt, dass dass das sehr recht zerstreut ist in Norwegen, das Ganze, und in Oslo ist die größte Community mit einem großen Club mit 50 Tischen und über 300 Membern und genau, die auch eigene Turniere machen. Und seit Corona spielen halt deutlich mehr Leute Warhammer in Norwegen, und das hat das richtig befeuert. Also das hat auf Warhammer wohl eine positive Entwicklung gehabt, während es auch viele andere Sachen eine negative Entwicklung hat. Das ist ja mal ganz interessant zu hören auch. Und yes, very, very interesting to hear. And maybe we start talking a little bit about the WTC and yes, the Norway team. In which pot is your team? I think there are 4 groups.
Yes.
And out of which the group phase will be mixed. And yes, we can talk a little bit about favorites of the WTC and your training. Yes, that would be interesting.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to talk about here, so maybe we should have some translation breaks during the talk. If we wait until the end, it'll be too much to remember, I think.
Yes.
But yeah, so Norway is at the very top of the seeding group number 3. For many years, Norway traveled to the ETC, as it was called before, and they tried their best, but there was not a lot of preparation beforehand, not a lot of work and training and stuff like this throughout the year. And I decided when I became captain, if I'm going to spend this much time doing something, I would like to do it at the highest possible level. So in 2022, we went, didn't really know much about how to do this, but we tried to learn as much as possible. And then last year we went and I think we scored 3 times as many points as the year before. And this year we are aiming to get even higher and to get up into the next seeding group for next year.
Okay, also er sagt, genau, die WTC, die haben ja 4 Gruppen, Gruppe 1 bis 4. Und in Gruppe 1 sind die stärksten Nationen, in Gruppe 4 die etwas schwächeren. Das teilt sich dann auf. Norwegen ist im Moment an Spitze der Gruppe 3. Und genau, seitdem er seit 2020 Teamkapitän ist, wird halt intensiver trainiert. Und sie haben in den letzten Jahren auch deutlich mehr Punkte schon geholt in der WTC. Und sie streben an, jetzt erstmal dann in den Top 2 zu kommen, bald. Um dann, sag ich mal, wird es ja auch einfacher, weil man halt einfache Gegner zugelost bekommt. Und yes.
It is difficult to go from, you start in top number 4 or number 3, or who is this?
So after
you make a team for WTC, in what top you starting? So after COVID, when it changed from ETC to WTC, they looked at all of the previous years of ETC and they have a historical ranking. Mm-hmm. And based on where you are in the historical ranking, they will put you into group 1, 2, 3, or 4. Now, because it's 3 years of WTC, now they don't use the pre-COVID rankings. They only use the WTC rankings. But your average place in the 3 years of WTC will decide which group you're in. So if you are a new country, like China, for example, is coming this year for the first time, they will start in the bottom group. So we were 20th or 21st place last year, and we aim to move up quite a lot of spots. We have a lot of practice and training, and so we will probably be in the group 2 next year.
Yes, okay. So, ich übersetze nochmal eben. Also, wir haben noch mal kurz durchgesprochen, wie das mit den Gruppentöpfen funktioniert. Und also vor Corona gab es halt die ATC und da wurden halt der Durchschnitt der letzten Jahre gewertet, die Punkte, und danach wurde das Klassement gemacht und jetzt gibt es seit mehreren Jahren die WTC und jetzt gibt es quasi die reine WTC-Wertung und entsprechend dem Abschneiden der Vorjahre werden dann die entsprechenden Gruppentöpfe gebastelt und wenn man mehrere Jahre gut abschneidet, kann man aufsteigen in den Töpfen. Wenn man schlechter abschneidet über mehrere Jahre, kann man auch absteigen.
Und ihr Ziel ist es, dieses Jahr in den Top 2 aufzusteigen.
Genau.
Ich denke, dass sie auch das Ziel verfolgen, das Turnier zu gewinnen.
Yes. So, I have another interesting question. For me, I play Warhammer till the 9th edition and I play tournaments till the 10th edition. And but I've never played a team tournament, so it is very interesting how a team tournament is. We can talk about the team tournament and what is the difference to I say normal tournament where only one player plays and not the team. That would be also interesting for our listeners and YouTube watchers and members.
Absolutely. So the main difference, obviously, is that you are part of a team, right? You are playing with 7 other people, and each team can only use each codex one time. So, for example, you cannot have Blood Angels and also Space Wolves in the same team because they are both using the Space Marines codex.
Okay.
Oh,
right. Yeah. So, if you want to play Chaos Space Marines with some demon allies, you cannot also have Chaos Knights with some demon allies because you can only use each book one time.
And you can, yeah. Very interesting.
Yes. So this is the makeup of the team. Obviously, you try to find some teams. They try to find the 8. So WTC is 8-man teams. Some team tournaments are 5-man teams or 3-man teams, but at the World Championships it's 8. And some teams they try to find the 8 strongest factions and lists, and some try to find factions and lists that will confuse your opponents. You know, like if you bring AdMech right now, nobody will understand why. Maybe you will win some games because nobody understands.
Yes, but nobody knows how to play AdMech, and in the balanced data slate, there's a big update of AdMech. And if you have someone who plays the faction and who is very deep inside, it is maybe good to bring AdMech because you don't have a lot of people to train. Nobody trains against AdMech, and it's always know your army and know the enemy army, and nobody knows how to play against AdMech. It could be interesting.
Exactly, and there are some teams who have done really, really well in the past by bringing lists that other teams don't understand how to play against it. In 2022, Australia, they won the WTC, and they're very good players. Of course, they're really good players. They beat everyone. But a large part of why they won is because they had lists that are not usual to see in Europe or North America. So nobody understood how to play against it.
They have their own meta and not the normal meta of Europe or North America.
Exactly. They definitely did well there. For me, the biggest difference in playing teams and playing in singles tournament is that you get to share the wins and the losses with 7 other people. So I could, for example, lose every game at WTC, but we as a team could win every round. And so it doesn't, I can lose a game, but if I manage to score 5 points, that's still 5 points for the team. And so there's not that much pressure on each person. And also when you have success, you get to share it with 7 other really good people.
Okay, I will translate a little bit. And so, wir haben nochmal darüber gesprochen, was ein Teamturnier von einem normalen Warhammer-Turnier unterscheidet. Und man hat natürlich einmal die Situation, dass dass man teilweise mit ganz anderen Listen auch spielen kann, weil man halt als Team spielt und jedes Teammitglied wichtig ist und weil man ja auch ein bisschen gegenseitig sich paaren kann. Und wenn halt Leute mal zum Beispiel sowas wie Admech spielen, was jetzt gerade quasi komplett neu aufgesetzt wurde mit dem Balanced Data Slate, weiß man halt nicht, wie man das zu bespielen hat, weil wenn man normal trainiert im TTS, dann spielt man gegen CSM und Space Marines oder Dämonen oder was halt viel gespielt wird, aber kaum jemand ist halt tief drin in Admech oder solchen Randfraktionen und das wird dann halt nicht trainiert und dann kann man sich schon schwer tun, dagegen zu spielen. Und er hat nochmal ganz interessant gesagt, dass halt jeder Kodex nur einmal drin sein darf. Also man kann nur einen Space Marine Codex spielen, man kann nicht Space Wolves und Blood Angels spielen und Ultramarines zum Beispiel.
Oder auch keine Chaos Demons und keine Chaos Knights zusammen.
Alliierten, dann kann man nicht nochmal Chaos Knights nehmen.
Genau.
Wenn man die mischt, die Codexe mit Alliierten.
Was ich auch noch sehr interessant fand, dass er auch nochmal erwähnt hat, dass 2022 das Team Australier gewonnen hat, weil sie Listen gespielt haben, die in Nordamerika nicht auf dem Schirm waren und auch in Europa auch nicht so auf dem Schirm waren. Und das schon, also es geht nicht immer nur darum, gerade die beste Liste zu spielen, die jeder kennt, sondern vielleicht auch mal das zu spielen, was man nicht so kennt oder was man nicht auf dem Schirm hat, weil das überall anders gespielt wird.
Genau. So I have another interesting question. I've not yet played Pariah Nexus deck on the table. I've only made 2 games on TTS with Pariah Nexus, and it's also a very short time for training with the new deck. I think that would be also interesting how everyone can match it, and the one who can work good with the new missions and will win, because it's always a thing of training, I think.
Yeah. So this is the 3rd year in a row that we have had some big changes right before WTC. In 2022, we had a new mission pack like now. And last year we had 1 month before WTC, we had 10th edition. So every year there is a lot of change, which actually means that many teams, instead of finding faction experts to put in your 8 players, many teams now are looking for very flexible players. Players who, with very short amount of time, can suddenly switch to a new army or play a lot of games and learn the new rules very quickly. Some countries, they have a very, very big community, like Germany or England or France and America. And some people think that this gives them an advantage because there are so many people in the community that can help test and help give information to the national team. I think this is true. And so many smaller countries, they maybe start to work together with each other to help each other be able to also learn quickly and learn together. Pariah Nexus is definitely different than Leviathan.
But I think the balance is better. I've played 2 games and I liked the new missions, but I don't have played a tournament with it yet. But I'm very interested in playing tournaments in the autumn with the new deck. Yes.
Yep.
I think the new missions are better than also Paradoxus. It's better than Leviathan, but the deployment zones, you have 2 deployments. They are
yes, they are very tricky, and you are much more close to the enemy if you want now.
So for WTC, we never use any kind of Dawn of War deployment.
Okay.
So we never use the 2 long edges against each other because it needs too much terrain because WTC has a lot of terrain. So we are not using what is it called? The new sweeping engagement.
Yes.
We're not using this one bit. We are using the one with the short edges towards each other,
Yes.
with also the staggered deployment. I like the new secondary, the cards. The primary mission, I think. So it will be interesting for teams, because I've seen quite a few times now that you can score 30 or 35 points in the last 2 turns on just the primary mission, if you have killed most of your opponent. So there will be some games where you score much more points than before. But for the secondary, for the cards, you probably score less than before, because now it's 2 points instead of 3 points, or it's 4 points instead of 5 points.
Yes, and bring it down is fixed a lot. It's very good for tourneys, for example. And I've always played with my elder a lot of deploy teleport Homer and bring it down, and that doesn't work all too well anymore.
Nope.
You have to think new.
Yeah, definitely. It's been interesting, because a month ago we had an idea of which 8 armies we want to bring to WTC, and I think from 1 month until today, I think we changed 6 of those 8 armies.
Cool. I think sorry.
No, I was just going to say we have 10 days until the deadline for submitting our lists, and we are still making changes.
Okay, so I think you play with the players who can learn a new army very quickly, and not with the faction specialists, what you told about.
Well, there's some of them, yes. I mean, we have some people who are faction specialists, but mostly I'm very happy to have players who can switch very quickly.
Cool. And may I ask, do you also make boot camps, like that you meet for a weekend for 3 days with your WTC team, and then you go in a house, close the doors and the windows, and then you play?
Yes, absolutely. So we this weekend, that is coming now in 2 days, we will have a digital boot camp, so a TTS boot camp, because we also will have one more boot camp in Oslo in 2.5 weeks, where we will use the Warhammer Club I talked about before. We use this for our boot camp, so we have a whole floor. There are 3 floors to the club, and we will have 1 whole floor just for ourselves. And it's in the middle of the city, so we can get good food, and we can just stay there from morning until night every day.
Cool.
Yeah,
it's nice.
Very intensive.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also very good, because we will be traveling to Belgium for WTC on a Monday and staying for a whole week. And we will be, staying in hotel rooms with each other, and we will be playing with each other, and we'll be eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner with each other. We will spend the evenings talking about tomorrow's games every day.
We have a good time.
Yes, but it's important that we become good friends also, and not just Warhammer players who are in the same team. So the boot camps are an excellent way to figure out how we can become good friends and work well together. And if somebody has some kind of disagreement, then we can talk about it at the boot camp and not at the World Championships.
Cool. And you go to Belgium on Monday, and the WTC starts on? So
the singles tournament starts on the Tuesday.
Okay.
I think most of our players will play the singles tournament, the War Master, which just became 500 players.
Yes.
Mostly from Germany and France. Most of our team will play the singles tournament, but usually we'll only play 1 day, and then we drop out just to get some practice.
Yes.
And then the team tournament starts on Thursday evening. So there's one game on Thursday, and then 2 games Friday, 2 games Saturday, and 2 games Sunday.
Yes. Cool. Very cool. So, yes, we talked about your expectations. You want to go up to Group 2.
Very interesting. Do you maybe want to do some translating first? Because it's been a while.
Yeah. Oh, yes. But, okay. Also wir haben noch mal viel über die WTC gesprochen. Die reisen halt schon am Montag alle an nach Belgien. Dann spielen noch viele die War Master, das Einzelturnier, was noch vorgelagert ist. Dann geht am Donnerstag die WTC los. Und dann ist Donnerstag ein Spiel, Freitag 2, Samstag 2, Sonntag 2, glaube ich. Genau, dann haben die ihre Spiele durch. Und genau. Ja, wir haben nochmal über Training viel gesprochen. Also die machen auch ein
Bootcamp, genauso wie das Team Germany. Jetzt am Wochenende, beide tatsächlich dasselbe Wochenende sich rausgepickt, so nochmal vor der WTC. Das zeigt wahrscheinlich auch nochmal auf, wie wichtig, also wie ernst das manche Teams mittlerweile leben und wie wichtig das ist, vorher nochmal zu trainieren und dass man als Team zusammenfindet, damit man wirklich Freunde wird. Das hat er auch nochmal explizit gesagt, dass man da nicht nur Warhammer-Player ist, sondern dass man auch Freunde wird in der Zeit, wo man dann trainiert zusammen.
Man ist ja auch wirklich eng zusammen, ne? Wie man auch beim Fußball sagt, 11 Freunde sollt ihr sein, ne? Und
ich finde das nochmal ganz interessant zu hören, weil ich jetzt am Wochenende zum Team Germany Bootcamp fahre und das ist mein allererstes Bootcamp, was ich so miterlebe. Und ich bin ja da, um für euch zu fragen, wie ist es überhaupt dort und so weiter. Und deswegen war das für mich gerade, glaube ich, auch nochmal ganz wichtig, das zu hören, wie das denn so ist in einem Bootcamp und was mich da genau erwartet.
Genau. Hast du noch Fragen? Ich bin durch mit meinen Fragen eigentlich, ne?
Nach Team Norway?
Ja. Okay.
Okay, aber we have 10 minutes. We can tell him questions.
Yes.
So I tell in German, I go next week to the bootcamp from Germany, but I make with the German players interviews and tell the other people they play Warhammer 40k in Germany. What does the German nation team for Warhammer 40k in the bootcamp and we is the sort. But this is my first bootcamp and I think it was so interesting what you tell about your bootcamp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fun, but it's so important. The second bootcamp that we will have, so we have one on TTS this weekend, and then the last weekend of July we will have a physical bootcamp in Oslo. Mm-hmm. And by that time, the lists are public, and we also know which group we will play in at the WTC. So we will know what the other 3 teams are in our group that we will play the first 3 matches. So then we will actually, we will find 8 other players and we will give them, say, for example, if we have Germany in our group, we will give somebody the list for Germany and we will put them on the table and we will practice for 1 or 2 days practicing against the German lists. So that when we get to WTC and we play against Team Germany, we've already practiced against exactly how their list will be.
Cool.
And hopefully we have a chance. Team Germany is very strong.
Yes, I think they are strong because of the big community and a lot of majors. So we talked about it with Team Israel a few days ago, and in Germany you can play 100 plus people majors per month nearly.
Yes, and you have every tournament, every weekend. We drive 1 hour or 1.5 hour for the next tournament, the next week, and we can play there.
Yes, and the community is active. There's the I don't know if you know it. There's the Breaking Heads podcast every Monday with Fred and Malte, and they are talking about the tournaments, and every Monday they talk about between 5 and 10 tournaments which had been on the weekend and what lists win and so on. And when you watch a little bit, you get a lot in your brain also.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
And if you live near France, you can go to France for huge tournaments. And if you live close to Austria, you can go to Austria for big tournaments. I know several German players who travel to other countries as well for tournaments. We travel to Sweden for tournaments a lot because they have a bigger community than us. But I also travel to other countries. I travel to England and to Scotland and to Netherlands. In 2 weeks after WTC, I will go and play a super major in France.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah.
And a super major is around 200 plus people, maybe, or?
I think it's more than 120.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
I think so. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, something like that.
Yes.
So it's and this is mostly I travel for these tournaments because I became friends with players and tournament organizers from other countries because of WTC.
Cool. So the community gets international, and it's you arrive and you directly see a lot of people that you know, that you can talk, and how was your last year and what's going on, and
Yep.
yes, you come
That's
in directly.
That's great.
Cool. Okay. So yes, I think our time's up. We are at the end of the interview.
Yes, we have
And
so 4 times for this interview.
yes, so we will wish you a lot of luck for Team Norway for the WTC, and I will be very expected what's going on in August, and I will follow it, and yes, we wish you all the best.
Yes.
Vielen Dank.
Gerne.
Danke.
Bye bye.
Bye.